In this video, I'm going to show you the changes for version Cloud.33. So if you're using Grid Designer Cloud, be sure you refresh your browser to get this new version. And then if you go to the Help menu and scroll down, you will see About Cloud.33 here. This always shows the current version. So we were on 32.9 and now we've gone to Cloud 33. Okay. So most of what I'm going to show you here has to do with cross stitch and Blackwork, those two project types. Blackwork is a new project type. But if you have been using symbols for doing mosaic crochet, there are a couple of things in here that have been added to the paste area. You can now flip things and vertically and horizontally, and you can fill with the paste item, across the project, and within other objects, you can do a fill of your paste object. So there are a couple things that you might wanna look at or listen through this video just to hear about. And in general, if you don't do those things and you're not using symbols in any way, then just know that there are some things that have changed underneath. And if you notice any, things that aren't working correctly, some of the updates for this version could have affected something else. So be sure and send me a message. If you're on Facebook, you can DM me, or you can always go to my contact page on freezeworks.com and send me an email from there. But please let me know if you notice anything that's not working for you the way it was. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's make a project um, out of our new type. This is a completely new type. Cross stitch was there before, but there are some changes there too. But I'm going to show you a Blackwork cross stitch here first. So we're going to pick that one. And then like cross stitch, you can pick 8 of cloth, or you can set your own number of stitches per inch down here. So let's just pick a cloth type. And let's pick DMC embroidery floss here. Okay, and let's say create project. Okay, so for both cross stitch and blackwork, when you make a new project now, it will ask you to select your foreground and background colors. And for blackwork and cross stitch, the background color is going to be a special color that's going to be used for the color of the canvas. So blackwork usually doesn't have you don't usually fill the entire project with cross stitches. So, if you're doing that kind of thing, it doesn't really matter whether you set the canvas color or not. If you're filling the entire project with all cross stitches, then you don't need to worry about the canvas color. But otherwise, you might want to set the canvas color to something that's close to whatever you're going to be using for your canvas. I'm just going to pick white, and that's the background color down here. So we'll just pick that. And the other one here is any foreground color, something that you're planning on using maybe in your project. Let's just go and you can also search. There are 500 colors or so in the DMC uh, color chart. So let's see if we can find something. Let's pick a nice bright green. Okay. All right. And we say set colors, okay? And then it'll change the background to whatever background color that you picked. If you want to save it here, you can type in a name for your project and you can save it right away. Or you can just close this and go work, and then you would save it from project save over here once you've got some things on here that you've drawn. Okay, so what's new in here is that we now have a bunch of different symbols that we can draw on our cross stitch. Okay. The main drawing tool, this tool here, is used to draw cells that are full cross stitches. And this is pretty typical of a chart like this. You usually use just a plain square that is filled to denote full cross stitch. So this main drawing tool and a lot of the other ones, the shape and all of these other things, the text and the library patterns and that kind of stuff, and the line drawing and all that kind of stuff, will draw cross stitches. So if you don't use partial stitches generally and you don't care about that, you can just draw just as usual. You just use your drawing tool and your erase tool and you just draw and everything is a cross stitch. Okay, so let's draw like a triangle here. Let's take our line tool and we'll come down here and let's make that be a nice straight line there. Okay. But if you want to do something like you want to use some partial stitches or you want to put some back stitches around your cross stitches, then you would use the symbol tool. And I showed this for mosaic crochet, but if you might not have watched those videos possibly. So the way you would add any of these symbols up here is you select the symbol that you want to use. Let's say we want to do some diagonals along down this way, and you select the color. Okay, so let's go and pick something out. Let's make something that's contrasts quite a bit so we can see it on here. Maybe a nice dark blue, huh? Okay, and then you select this tool down here, and now this is the drawing tool for symbols. So this draws whatever symbol is selected in here. You can, this is the drawing tool here, you can also erase all symbols in a square, and you can erase the selected symbol. So if you have this symbol in a square with other symbols and you want to selectively erase just that one symbol, then you would pick this tool down here and it erases only the type that's selected up here. Okay, so we got this selected, so let's go ahead and put our diagonal in here. Okay, and then let's see, if we wanted to put backstitching all the way around, then we would use some of the other backstitch tools. So let's say we want to go down this side here. And let's say we want to put this along some backstitching along here, like that. And then maybe one up at the top there, something like that. And one on the left side over here. We could do that. Okay. So that would be that. And then if you wanted to fill this in with partial stitches, you could put a quarter stitch in here and all these little triangles down here. And those are here. So we want the one that goes this way. And we want to go back to green. Okay. Okay. Notice that and this didn't occur with the previous symbol set. It depends upon your project, how these are done. But basically, if you change this foreground color, that will change the color of the symbols that are being drawn. So that's how you, change the color of those. So it's not just the symbol, I guess you need to select, but you have to select the foreground color for what you want to draw that symbol as. And so we're just going to put quarter stitches in here, all the way down here, and say we wanted to do 3/4 stitches on the inside, maybe like this. We could do that. Okay, so something like that. All right, now if you want to see this as with texture, and here's where we can see, when we turn the texture on, we'll be able to see the canvas drawn as canvas. So we go into here to texture, and I'm just going to switch on texture, and best to leave the selected whatever here. If you need to change your canvas color, this is where you can change your canvas color. And if you have a pre-existing cross stitch project and you want to set the canvas color because it wasn't there, you couldn't do that before. But if you want to set a canvas color in an existing cross stitch project, you would open your cross stitch project, come in here to the texture area, and then you could pick from this list whatever color you want the canvas to be. It should be a color that you're likely already using for your background color in your cross stitch. Okay, and so once we do that, whatever color is denoted as the canvas color gets drawn as canvas, and the other things get drawn as stitches. Any other color will be drawn as a stitch. So it'll look like this within texture. Okay, so let's see, let's talk about, okay, so let's talk about some of the other tools here. Now the fill tool is a little bit different than some of the other drawing tools. Most of the other drawing tools only work on whole cross stitch stitches, but the fill tool I've made some adjustments too so that it can fill not just the whole stitches, but also partial stitches that may be connected to those. So let's go over and pick another color. Let's pick orange. Okay, so if I click on this, I'm clicking on this partial stitch down here, this 3/4 stitch. It will find everything that's the same color as that and fill all of those things together. Or if you click on a, let's find a different color. Let's make this lime green. Or if you click on a whole stitch, then it will also, fill that and any of the partial stitches that are connected to that. Now we'll also do, I want another color here now. Let's go back and pick an orangey color again. Okay, so now it'll also fill these stitches that go around the outside. If you very carefully put the end of the fill bucket onto one of those stitches, it will fill some of those. Now, this I'm going to hopefully improve so that it'll do the whole thing all the way around here. But the current code for the fill bucket doesn't travel across diagonals, and so that's why it stops here. You can fill each one of those separately, but it won't go down the diagonal. So I'm going to try and make some code modifications to make it look for lines specifically because but the generic fill code doesn't go diagonally. So we can fill it like this. Okay, but hopefully that will work better in the future and that all just fill right in. So anyway, you can actually fill something like that. You could fill this area, etc., things like that. Okay, now when we do the eraser tool will erase both the whole cross stitches and it also will erase partial stitches like that. So erase will do both of those things. It does not erase lines. It doesn't erase the back stitch. Those are considered to be special and you need to use the erase tool down here to do that. Okay, so just to show you, let's go back to let's turn the texture off now and just go back to what we had before. Okay. And let's put this back in here and we'll put that back there. Put our diagonal on over here and we had a 1/4 stitch too. Okay, so we got back to that. So this is the way the symbols are drawn if you pick the Blackwork cross stitch option. Okay, now if we take this chart and we convert it to cross stitch, you can do that from display, cell size, type, and you can just pick a different type that you want to convert it to. So let's convert it to cross stitch. Okay, and now you see that we are using some different symbols here. So the symbol set is all the back stitching is the same, but the partial stitches, the 3/4 stitches are shown by a shaded triangle like this, and the 1/4 stitch is shown with a circle in the appropriate corner. These are squash stitches here. They're half kind of like they're not really not what you'd call a half stitch, but they're called a squashed cross stitch that only goes on one side. So these are so the cross stitch ones are shown filled in. The blackwork ones are shown by lines that are, drawing where the stitch actually goes. Okay, so that looks a little bit different. So this looks like cross stitch. Okay, now let's talk about the selection tool. Let's select this. And let's say, we'll say cut and paste. Okay, so now we have this. Now in this area, there are some changes that affect not just the cross stitching, but also people who were using symbols with crochet for mosaic crochet. So now we now have a flip horizontal, which will do this, and a flip vertically like that. And those two options are new. And then you can also fill, which is not going to do a whole lot for because we have such a small area here. But that'll fill the whole area with like tiling. Basically, it'll tile the whole area with whatever you've got in your paste object. And then this is also tiling that happens like inside of a particular area. And so those two things are new. Those are now allowed when you have symbols. Um, okay, and you can turn the background on and off like this. Okay. All right, so we could just paste that back on there like that. Now there also is a paste. Once we've cut this, it's sitting in memory in the computer in what's called the clipboard. And once I have something in the clipboard, I can select the different ways that I want to paste it. I could paste only the symbols, which would give me just a thing with all the symbols on it like this that I can paste around. And I can also paste just the colors, which would, in this case, is going to give me just the cross stitches. So I can do that. So while there are those two options there, and then the main one, which is paste, which does both symbols and colors together. Okay, so that was a change in this release. Now, for cross stitch only, not for the previous one with symbols, which was the mosaic crochet, but for cross stitch only, you can also select according to a color motif. So let's put some different colors on here so we have something else to select against. Let's fill this with yellow. Okay, so now we've got some yellow in here. Now if I go and I say select single color motif here, then I can select like this, and it works a lot like fill, except it will go diagonally. So it will select everything that's the same color, including partial stitches and including back stitching. So it'll select all of that color. And that can be used to cut, copy, paste, all of those things. And it can also be used if you want to go into here and select things. So it'll get you the color that you selected, but it will also get you possibly some other colors depending upon if there's overlap onto another cell. So for instance, because I selected this orange color, it selected this cell here, which has one partial stitch, which has a partial stitch in that color, but it also has some white. So your color list may include a few other colors other than the one that you selected just because it's, just because it's overlapping that other color. So let's go in here and let's substitute this with something else. Let's go down here and make it blue. Okay, so now we're going to have blue. Then we say convert pattern, and then we have blue here. And then just click down here to get rid of your selection. Okay, if you select multicolor motif, it's basically going to select anything that's connected that's not your background color. So it's going to select all of this stuff, and it includes the yellow in here. And if we go into here, we can see that the yellow is selected now too, and now we can make substitutions in that entire thing. Okay. So just wanted to mention that these two things are working for cross stitch symbols. Okay, so I think that's about it. Just one mention again, if you have an older cross stitch project and you'd like to set the canvas color because you'd like to be able to see what the texture looks like, against your canvas like that, then all you have to do is open your project and go over here to display texture. And then down here, there'll be nothing selected, but you can select whatever color you're using for your background color to be the canvas color, and then it will draw. It'll draw like this. Okay, so I think that's about it. I'm hoping to make some additional tools in the future to make drawing a little bit easier. It's a little tedious to pick each of these, little lines and things like that to go around here. I'm hoping maybe to have some kind of like a line tool that applies to the diagonals and other back stitches. Maybe could kind of piece together a line or something like that, or possibly even a curve tool that will automatically pick all of these and just draw the whole thing together with one tool. That would be cool. And improve the fill tool and things like that. So maybe some things like that will be coming up in the near future. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Happy designing. Bye bye.